Wolfpack fans, and welcome to Wolfpack Watch, our weekly segment where we interview the coach and a few players after our most recent game and our upcoming game this coming week. We're here to review the excruciating loss Friday night here at the Den against McEachern. They lost in overtime 14-7. With me again is Coach Scott Jones. Coach Jones, thanks. Coach, I've been announcing, I think, Wolfpack football for 4 or 5 years now. Dare I say this was probably the second most exciting game that I got to call here in the Den. I think the South Paulding versus North Paulding a few years back where we won late was probably a little bit more exciting, partially because we won. Give me your thoughts on the game Friday night.
Well, I mean, you know, that's when Coach Ockman came across the field at the end of the game, he shared the same sentiments that I did. He said that was just a good old-fashioned football game, old-school style defenses kind of battling it out. But, you know, it came down. We had a chance there late, and, you know, unfortunately we came up short. But to battle those guys, very prominent program to the end, and give ourselves a chance, that's all we can ask for.
First game that I remember being in overtime here at the Den. I don't know if we had one before I started announcing, but that was awfully exciting. Give me your thoughts as time was winding down. I know we had the ball once and then had to give the ball up, and both teams were trying to jockey for position for a late field goal. Give me your thoughts as the clock was winding down and what you were going to have to endure going into overtime.
It was such a defensive game on both sides of the football. We didn't want to do anything, you know, really at the spur of the moment to try anything. So we decided to, you know, run the football there late just to take it into overtime because, you know, then we're both in field goal range, you know, and defense was playing so good. You know, we won the toss, and it was really a perfect setup for us. But, you know, they ended up finishing strong there and scoring on us, and we didn't.
Talk about that overtime session, because one of the things that I noticed, and we talked last week about one of the players to watch on the McEachern team, number 8, Paris Brown. You guys bottled him up all night long, aside from maybe a run or two where it was, you know, 10 or 15 yards, nothing huge, no breakaway runs, and then he was able to get that 4 or 5 yard pounding run in the overtime. Talk about how well the defense played to keep him under wraps and in general keep the McEachern team off the scoreboard.
Well, when you got a team that you know, they're huge. I mean, the average size on those young men were, I mean, it's enormous, and for us to go toe to toe with them all night long I'm very proud of our players and coaches. They did a great job. You know, just they made a couple of runs there in overtime that you know, we had been stuffing during the game, and they made plays when they had to there late.
You mentioned the difference between the size defensively, offensively on both sides of the ball. I remember being up in the press box and watching Jesse to James on the nose tackle against their center, and the big size difference between the two of them. But Jesse had a good game. Jesse was beating that kid to the punch with his speed and his agility. Talk about how the defensive line prepared for that game, executed that game, including the linebackers. It seemed like everybody was in the backfield almost the entire night.
Well, there's a lot of moving parts to our defense. You know, we're not going to sit in one place. You know, we're not big enough, especially playing a team that has got you 80, 90 pounds per man. We've got to be moving, and because, you know, one-on-one, we can't sit there and battle it out. But, you know, Jesse played a great game. The whole defense played a great game. Defensive line was in the backfield a lot. So, you know, week in and week out, we've just got to try to cause as much havoc as we can there and just play good defense and you know, be in it at the end just like we were in that game.
Both teams having the defense that they had and both teams struggling on offense to beat those defenses. There were a couple plays, I mean, this close to being able to get a score. I know there was one pass. In fact, I think there were 2 deep passes to Dylan Patterson. One time he actually caught the ball but couldn't keep his feet in bounds. The other time he couldn't corral the ball and keep his possession in bounds. Talk about the frustration of moving the ball against that talented McEachern defense.
Well, I mean, we knew that they've been playing great defense all year long, so we knew it was going to be a challenge moving the football. But you're right, we were trying to get in field goal range, and so were they, and we didn't want to make any mistakes, and they didn't either. So it was wind it and grind it, and just see what happened. But you're right, we had a couple of opportunities that was really, really close, but just didn't work out for us.
The turnover battle was in our favor this time, and we couldn't take advantage of that. I know we had at least 2 interceptions. I think Zion picked off one. That was an amazing play.
Great play.
And then I think, what was it, Easton or was it Tyler that picked off the other one? But that defense just was absolutely stout. They played as best they could against that talent from what I saw. Talk about what it was like. We got the early lead, and then they came right back and put it in the end zone as well. And then nobody scored after that. It was just like a chess match after that. We'll put our defense against yours. Then they lost their quarterback.
Yep.
And they had to put in their backup quarterback, and then they put a freshman quarterback in. Tell me how the sidelines were talking as all those things were happening, and what type of advantages you guys were trying to draw up for ourselves.
Well, I mean, it really, just like the week before, it didn't really matter which quarterback they had in there. We felt like they were going to run the football, live by the run, and we would have to stop it, and really us too. We threw the football some, but we really wanted to establish a run and not make any mistakes. So it was one of those deals that getting into overtime was a great plan, and then see what happens.
I know field position battle in that entire game was absolutely paramount. I know Jackson had one punt that was relatively bad, but for the most part, the entire night he pinned them back, put them in bad field position, gave your defense a chance. And if your defense held them, which we did most of the time, we got the ball back in good field position. We just couldn't make that one play that was going to be necessary. But I got to be honest with you, one of the most exciting games that I've seen here at the Den. Kudos to your coaching staff, the players. I mean, to try to even compete with that team is one thing. To almost beat them is a completely different thing. So I give your coaching staff and the players a lot of credit. Let's talk about where we are. We're now 6-2, 1-2 in region play. We have 2 games left. Kennesaw Mountain coming up at their place, and then after that, Marietta. I know you're focused solely on Kennesaw Mountain, but we've talked a little bit about this before. Coming off an emotional loss here at the Den against a very, very powerful team, are we on guard for a trap game this following week at Kennesaw Mountain? I know they've gotten blown out in a lot of games, but they still have some talent there. What are you telling your players?
Well, I mean, we played hard and got beat late in a game, and that tells us kind of where we're at as a football team, that we can line up and play football with I think anybody, and so I think that's exciting for our players and coaches. But as far as a trap game, Kennesaw Mountain has got an outstanding offense. They've got their quarterback is very elusive. Their running back, number 21, he's as good a running back as we will see this year. As a matter of fact, I think he's leading the county, Cobb County in rushing. But we've got our work cut out. These guys, they're going to be ready to play over at Kennesaw Mountain. I assure you that. So we need to bring everything we've got to this one, and we'll worry about the next one.
Of course. And we talk about what I know you're going game by game, and that's absolutely how you should do, but I was looking at the standings. We sit 1-2, but we're actually in a decent spot based on what happened Friday night's results. Hillgrove took care of Marietta on a 7-0, so we're only 1 game behind Marietta. We're even with Hillgrove's a game ahead of us at the moment. But if we win our last 2 games, we're 3-2 in the region, 8-2 in overall, and we got to be sitting pretty good. We'll definitely be in the playoffs then. But we want a higher seed. We want one of those home games if we could get it. Talk about what you guys are laying out for your boys in the next 2 games.
Well, we ain't really talked about that, and I'm gonna be honest with you. It isn't cliche to say we got to take care of our next game, because we can't worry about who's beating who or what we're projected to end up. We got to take care of going 7-2, not 8-2. We got to go 7-2 first, and so. It's going to be a challenging game. Kennesaw Mountain's putting a lot of points on some of these teams, and that I know's got pretty good defenses. So, we've got to be ready to go.
One final question. Talk about what it meant for you to watch some of these seniors play on their last regular season home game here at the Den.
Hey, I'm proud of them. And I told them, I told them 2 different occasions that it's the best group of seniors, large group of seniors, but the best one when it comes just a total buy-in and chemistry with the guys. They have fun, very good athletic senior bunch, and we're definitely gonna miss them. But we're not finished. That was senior night, but we still got games, and so we still got seniors playing games. So we'll get to see a lot more of those guys.
Those seniors had this crowd pumped up for that game Friday night. The crowd was incredible. The game was incredible. It'll live long in the infamy, even though it was a loss. It will live in the memories of many Wolfpack fans. Well, Coach, I want to thank you for joining me again this week. We'll be back next week to talk to Coach Jones about that Kennesaw Mountain game and preview the final game of the regular season at Marietta. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to Wolfpack Watch. With me now, junior linebacker number 41, Jordan Veneziale. Jordan, thanks for joining me.
Glad to be here.
Jordan, we are coming off the McEachern loss here at home, excruciating overtime loss 14-7. First of all, give me your thoughts on that game.
Well, I believe both offense and defense played their hearts out, and they left everything on the field. And just overall hard work and everything was poured into that game, but we just came up short at the end.
We're 6-2 on the season, 1-2 in region play, and I know we want to be better as far as record in region play, but we're 3 games down with 2 games left. Give me your assessment overall on the season so far, 8 games in.
Overall, I think we've done pretty good. We're getting better along the season as it goes on. The only 2 games that we lost were both nail biters, so we're just like right there from where we should be. But I feel like we're doing good overall, and we're just getting better day by day.
Talk about the game Friday night. You were going up probably against some of the most talented offensive people that you've dealt with all season so far, and maybe even in your career at this point. Mm-hmm. Some of these kids you've known over the years. I know Paris Brown played against us in middle school. Talk about what it was like going against some of these very, very talented offensive guys on the other side of the ball.
Well, it's a lot different than what we have been seeing. When we got into region, we knew we were going to be playing a lot better players and a lot better talent. It's just like we have to take a 1 step up and play that much harder because they're going to be going as hard as they can because most of them are D1 athletes in our region. So we just have to work as hard as we can.
Talk about what it's like to play in this linebacking core between what I will say is the 4 of you, because Lesneski is out there as well, but I mean Bird, Fisher, and you, and Lesneski, the 4 of you are all over the field. I mean, in the backfield, making tackles on running backs, sacking quarterbacks, tipping balls, intercepting balls. Tell me what it's like playing in this defense right now.
Well, right now our defense, and our whole team, but like our defense in general, we're like a brotherhood. We're like, we can't be broken. Like, we got each other's backs through the whole game, and we just know we're going to fight and lay it all on the line for each other.
So you guys realize even when you aren't even talking to each other, you know what the other one's going to do. You know how the other one's going to act. As far as the play calls are concerned, you guys know exactly what the other members of the defense are going to do.
Yeah, we don't worry about each other. We trust each other, and we just get our job done, and it's been working out pretty well for us.
Well, I will tell you, Friday night, all I saw was linebackers in the backfield along with Jalen Parks, Jesse to James a few times. It was unbelievable to watch you guys. Let's talk about the future as it relates to your career. You have 2 games left here in the regular season, and we're going to get some playoff games, I'm pretty sure. Then you'll be done with your junior season. Tell me what it's like wrapping up this junior season, knowing that you're playing your final games with some of these seniors.
Well, it's going to be tough because I've known these guys since freshman year when I got pulled up, because I was with these guys more than I was with my own class. So they're like, it's going to be tough and sad, because it's sad to see them go, because it's a lot of bonds breaking. But I'm going to be ready for next year, and I feel like my class is going to be ready too.
And as far as your class next year, you're going to be a senior and big time counted on to be a leader on this defense. Talk about what that's going to be like for you.
Well, right now I'm still learning from Tyler and Braylon, because they took me under their wing ever since freshman year. But like, I feel like they're getting me ready to lead the team next year.
And then beyond that, I know you and I have talked here recently. You've gone on a couple visits. Most recently, you went on a visit to Georgia State. How have those visits gone? You like going on college visits to see what the programs are like?
Yeah, I like doing that a lot. It's interesting seeing what that school's all about, and where I could like continue my academic career and my student-athlete career.
And then my final question, talking about that career, obviously you want to be in a good program. You've got a lot of schools looking at you at this point. You're wanting to go as high as you can. You looking beyond college, not that you're looking right now beyond college, but do you have aspirations of even going beyond that and maybe playing at a higher level than that?
Yeah, I do, but I still have a backup plan always, and that's first things first is get my degree and what I want to study, which I don't know what I want to do yet, but that's the first goal.
Well, you're only a junior at this point, so if you knew what you were going to do outside of football, that would actually be kind of amazing. So, Jordan, I want to thank you for joining me this week.
Thank you.
We'll be back next week to preview the final game against Marietta and to review the Kennesaw Mountain game on the road this Friday night. Thank you for joining us.